Hey everyone, Warwick's here. So we're now another Warcraft video. I'm getting crazy with it, right? So this video I want to talk about my Dragonflight slash pre-patch UI. So with the overhaul of the UI, I have actually gone through and completely redesigned mine. I have dropped ElvUI completely, and I'm going forward now with most of the default UI, and then some other quality of life type stuff that I've got going on. And we'll kind of go over everything that I've got going on in my UI. Plus, we'll have, I'll just kind of break it down where everything is at. And in the description, there should be an export link for my UI if this is something that you're interested in. So to start off with, of course, I've got default UI. Now on the default UI, there it does show the health bar here is just simply a green bar. Now uh, with that, you notice mine is the class color. That's because I have an add-on here called health bar color. What that does is that just changes the player frame from the green bar to your class color bar. You can also edit it to make it your own specific one. It also has options to allow you to change this portrait from like the shape that you're in. Like right now you can see I'm in cat form, switch out to Kaltirian form, back to cat form, bear form, all that fun stuff. But you can also change it to being just like the druid class color or the druid symbol, something like that. All right, so that's the add-on I used to do that. There are some add-ons we're going to touch on here as well. But let's go into edit mode so we can kind of show you the basic specs. So kind of in a party setting, as you can see, I have my party frames in the usual spot. Let me hide these real quick. And I use just the default frames for this. I've gone to the default frames. Here my settings are about halfway on the width and height. Of course, we sort them by role, so the tank is always on top, healer is always second, and then the 3 DPS below that for the purposes of party grouping. That just allows it so that I always know where these people are going to be at each and every time. In the LVY setup, I think I did tank at the bottom, or healer at the bottom, then the 3 DPS, then the tank at the top. I can't set it up that way here. I can only do by role group or alphabetical, so it is a little bit more limited, but I'm okay with tank, healer, 3 DPS. It's perfectly fine. As long as they're all in the same place on every single party, that's what I care about. Other than that, I just use raid style party frames and move them here. And then for the raid frames, I have them basically right here. They sit just on top of my chat, right below, as you can see on my camera right here. Now this is only set up for 25 man. That's how I have mine set up. I don't do 40 because come Dragonflight, the party that I'm going to right now, my raid team, because there's two teams that my my raiding community is going to be in. I'm in a team that's going 2 nights a week, so we're maxing out at 20 people generally. So in the future, I could even move this to where I only do 4 groups and move them over. But for now, I'm only going with the 25 man setup. So of course, if I went 40 man setup, it's going to basically cover my entire frames and all that stuff. So if you are someone that does a lot of 40 man battlegrounds, Wintergrasp, Asheran, things like that, you're going to want to reposition these. Or even if you do 30 man heroic raiding, I think you would just need to slide them over a little bit. But other than that, this is going to be pretty solid. These are a little bit smaller. I do show power bars on these because I do want to, as someone now that will be taking Innervate on my druid specs, I want to be able to see which healer's low so that I can do that. The other thing I could do, of course, is just say, hey, call for an Innervate and remove the power bars from that, which is also something I'm considering doing. Of course, I have my weak auras here in the middle. This is Affinar's druid package. I use Affinar's weak auras for all the classes that I play. So I just put my target focus, target to target. It's like right in here. So just all sits right off the side. Stance bar, of course, I have above my action bars here at the bottom. Bar 1 right here, bar 3, bar 4, and bar 2. I only use 4 action bars. If I used more, they would just go on the side. I lower the icon size to 70% on all of these as I'm trying to get used to new buttons. And then as that happens, we'll be going from there. The one thing I am disappointed about is you can't hide bar 1. I would love to be able to do that, but maybe that's an option they put in the future. So my bars just sit at the bottom here, which means that this space right in here is occupied by the extra abilities. So things like summoning Pokepock, the instrument in Streets of Tazavesh. So basically like the extra stuff. So possession bar, if I'm occupying anything, it's just above my 1 bar. The talking head I put up here in the corner. I generally, for the most part, don't care about it. Vehicle exit is just above my player frame. Arena frames I just kept over here. I don't use them personally, so they won't be something that you see on my side of the thing. Loot window, a lot of people open theirs up at mouse cursor, which means that this will be grayed out if you do that. I like mine sitting right here static because it's just useful for me to do it that way. And I do auto loot as well. The cast bar I attach to the player frame. So I lock it to my player frame there. Same goes for the cast bar for the enemy. It's locked onto the player frame. The other thing I'm going to do real quick here is this focus frame. I'm just going to put down here because for the most part, I don't care about the focus frame. So I'm going to get that out of the way. And then the boss frames I do use, and I do use the larger frames. I put the cast bars on the side. These do grow bottom up. That's just something to be aware of. So if you are fighting, like, for example, let's say, I'm blanking on the boss now. Lords of Dread. You know, you have Mal'Ganis here, Contessa here. These frames, I've debated just getting rid of them because for the most part, I don't look at these frames. So I might just stick them back over here in the corner. But they're occasionally useful for things like Addon when like the Avatar of the Lich King comes out and I accidentally target something else. I can just click the frame for Avatar of the Lich King to get back on that so I can start damaging that. But outside of that, I don't use the boss frames all that often. You can do things like make them smaller, put the cast bars underneath. I do them out to the side just because that's kind of the look that I prefer. And I'm going to move them down just a little bit since I have a little bit more room here. So I'm going to make that quick change and go from there. And then, of course, behind the camera, you can see the chat right here, just the tabs. Of course, I hide the chat because you never know what people are going to say. And then this is the objective tracker just on the far right side. Now, a lot of people complain about the fact that you can't move the bag and microbar. I'm personally okay with it being right where it's at. So it doesn't bother me at all that it's there. Buffs and debuffs are in their default spots. I just tweak them to show more or less, shrink them down a little bit in size. I do like the fact that you can do something like this where it hides all of your like your static buffs. So things like your Sign of the Emissary, the fact that I'm a cat form, Mark of the Wild, close those out here. So let me go ahead and save this real quick. This is just my option. Again, I'll do a share here and go to the video from there. So beyond that, let's talk about some of the other add-ons that I have. You probably saw my add-on list. It looked very long, but in reality, it's not. It's just a bunch of modules for stuff. So, of course, I have Addy Bags as the bag add-on. You can use the Blizzard default one if that was what you like. If you were a Bagnon user or an LVY bag user, then the Blizzard default bags are going to basically serve the exact same function that you had. I prefer Addy Bags because I like the sorting that it does with consumables, miscellaneous items. This is basically just Anima and Hearthstone. Keys, which I don't care about, and then of course it breaks down all my gear set stuff. So trade skill stuff is in there as well when I get those. I just really like the way Addy Bags functions and goes from there. Big wigs, of course, I use a weak warrior to help reskin them a little bit. Same goes with little wigs. I still use Blizz move so that I can do things like move this character frame around. It allows me to move all of it around. I use it a lot actually with the map. So I get the maps right here. And like I want to look at details as well. It's like I'm trying to review something, but I'm flying somewhere. Say I'm like in ZM and I'm flying out to this quest. Then it allows me just to move the map anywhere I want. You know, we can put it up here or over here while I'm flying around. Now, while you're moving or while you're flying, this usually will get grayed out. But then if you hover over it, then you know it's gonna be fine. So Blizz Move allows me to move all of this stuff around at my leisure, which I really, really enjoy. Of course, Bugsat Bug Grabber, this helps me determine add-ons here. So for example, like right here, this was a Weak Auras issue that I can then send to the Weak Auras users and say, hey, I had this come up, not sure what's causing it. And they can go in and attempt to debug it. Now, of course, I have a lot of them are things like Minimap Button Bag, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But, show like current session, no bugs in the current session or previous session. So these were just kind of older stuff from, this one was from yesterday. And then you can also open it up here, do auto pop-up, chat frame output. You can mute it, which will get rid of the thing. And of course, it has things like this that allow you to just to change the sound so you know when you got a bug sack thing. Like mine says fatality and that really high pitched voice from like Mortal Kombat. And do things like wipe save bugs, which will clear out the bug sack so that it now shows nothing. So it's a good thing to do that. And anytime you send these bug reports off to an add-on author, it's good to just go ahead and wipe it since you've already sent it. You can hold on to it until they reply and say, hey, I fixed this. You can then delete that. All right. Sorry, that's a text message I will answer in a minute. Another add-on. So of course, click for click casting. I don't like the Blizzard default one, so I use that. Details, which I have over here. Enhanced raid frames. So enhanced raid frames is a way for me to as a resto druid in particular, have a little bit extra stuff going on. So let's open up my options, add-ons, and then enhanced raid frames. Now, the thing about the enhanced raid frames is that you do have to do a profile for every character. So, for example, I'm on my druid right now, so I have things like indicator options showed, like, when I have a life bloom on a character, it'll be in the top left. When I have a top right, it'll be like when I have rejuvenation on the target. I set it up so it works kind of similarly to how my LVY frames did, because I was very comfortable with that setup, and that's what I looked for. Plus, the Blizzard default one only allows you to show 3 buffs at a time. So for me, if I have Rejuve, Regrowth, Wild Growth, Innervate, Life Bloom, and let's say like Spring Blossom Hot, Germination, stuff like that, then it'll allow me to actually show that like those will be in very specific spots rather than just 3 of them showing, so I don't know like what my hot timers are. The reason why you have to do this on each character individually is that if I switch to my mage and I was in a party frame, if I did my druid's profile, it would actually show in the raid frames the wild growth, the life blooms, the rejuves, and stuff like that. So overall, like, you have to do it individually on the profiles, but for your classes that have things that like party buffs, like if you want to know that Battle Shout is on there, you can put Battle Shout into a specific spot. For things like shaman or mages, if you're a DPS shaman or DPS mage, then you want to know like, hey, if I'm the decurse in my group, I need to know when I need a decurse, so I could put the icon in the middle of the name, and that will allow me to see that, hey, I need to decurse this person. So very cool stuff. It just allows you to do a little bit more with the default raid frames without having to get a brand new add-on like Voodoo, Grid, Healbot, stuff like that. Really enjoy it. I'll probably do a whole nother video on enhanced raid frames. Go from there. Of course, Leatrix Plus just does a lot of quality of life add-ons, things like auto selling, putting the keystone in automatically, automatically accepting invites from your guild or from your friends, automatically accepting resurrect requests so you don't actually have to click the button, stuff like that that'll allow you to do that. Little wigs, of course, for dungeons, method dungeon tools, which I use for things like icon marking, battle rest timers, just very useful to have. Also notes for when we're doing like certain boss mechanics that we have to like assign groups for, they'll put it in note, go from there. Method raid tools, kind of the same thing, kind of fill the separate stuff. Minimap button bag reborn. So the original minimap button bag MBB basically died in patch 8.0. So minimap button bag reborn is up to date for 10.0. So if you use the minimap button bag, basically it takes it from, instead of all these icons being around every single one, it's just in one little space that I can click, and it extends out and allows me to click on the details that I want. OmniCC just puts timers on everything. So if I thrash, or for example, let me just bark skin. As you can see here at the bottom, it just counts it down. Also counts it down on here for me through my WeakAura package. So it just allows that to be seen. The Blizzard default ones don't cover everything, whereas OmniCC covers everything that has a potential cooldown. OmniCD I need to get rid of because it's broken right now. Platers, my nameplate add-on, I use Luxlos as a nameplate package, so you can just go to wago.io, search Plater profiles, search Luxlos, it'll be there. The Raider.io add-on, which does basically this, shows me what my score is, hit 2400 just the other day, what my best run is, how many of plus 20s, plus 15s, 10 to 14s I've timed, what my best runs by all the dungeons are, and it also will do the raid bosses, so I can go in and see how many times have I killed all the raid bosses. So just a nifty little add-on. It'll also show things like in the tooltip. So if I go downstairs real quick, like if I hover over this person and like it shows here in the corner, you can see in the tooltip, you know, their current M plus score, their mains plus score, things like that. Obviously this is an alt because it's only got 75 score. It's done 1+3 lower run. It's probably the only dungeon that it has done. So like in my party, it'll also show like, hey, what's their current keystone and stuff like that. For friends and for party members. All right, saved instances. Save instances is very cool. It's very good if you play a lot of alts. So what this does here is you can hover over the icon and it'll actually show you what renown you're at. Have you done all your callings? What's your best keystone for the week? What is your current keystone? How many weekly quests have you completed? So things like the patterns within patterns, the Korthia ones, stuff like that. Have you done Antros, Valinor, Morgath, 3 faded raid bosses? You know, what level of raid have you done? Like my druid has done 10 of 10 heroic Castle Nathria. I've done most of the raids on LFR for the mage. As we get into Dragonflight, I don't know how this is going to change a little bit. I'm sure there's going to be more data that shows up, but you kind of play around with it. It's a good way to track, hey, have I done a key on my X character? Or have I done LFR on this character? You can just hover over this and it'll tell you what they have or haven't done. Have I done all my callings? Or have I done whatever weekly quest you might have? It's very, very good added-on for alts, and it also allows you to do some simple things here. There's lots of combined stuff, you know, that you can go in and customize it to your desire. All right, shared media just allows for some additional fonts. Simulation Craft allows you to export into raid bots. Warp Deplete is my new timer key because my M plus timer wasn't really working. Warp Deplete basically skins it a certain way, and I think you can even set it up to automatically put your key into the keystone. Weak Ores we'll go over in a little bit, and then I got Astral Keys, which just allows me, we'll go over Narcissus in just a second, but Astral Keys just allows me to see in my guild what keys everyone has, shows my characters here, what the affixes are for the week, and you can even do it by friends list, sort by like dungeon level, so I could see there's some 24s that could potentially be run by some of my team party members, and then you could even see the lowest keys. Some people ran like Mythic Zeros or Mythic Ones. One of my friends did there. So it just allows us to see what keys we got. So instead of asking around, so like, hey, does anyone have Upper Karazhan? I can come into this and go, oh yeah, Madison has Upper Karazhan 19. Very, very good. Hey, I need a junkyard. Well, I got a 24. Do I feel comfortable doing that? Just allows me to see like on my friends list and the people that I play with a lot, what keys we have. And it allows so that if you go like exclamation point keys, it'll actually show it in the party chat. You can do exclamation point keys or in your guild exclamation point keys. It'll show everyone that has the add-on. It'll show the key that they have. So you can even be like, all right, we got into a group. What key are we doing? Let's look and see what everyone has. And you can make a decision as a party on that. Narcissus is a very cool add-on. Does a lot. I mainly use it for some limited purposes. So like this is photo mode. You can do group photo, model control, stuff like that. I usually use it. I just click on it and I do this right here. So it just increases this. So it just kind of shows in a much prettier way your stats, your enhance, your stuff like your crit, your leech, movement speed. Just kind of shows everything. And then if I wanted to like show off my character, I could just screenshot it. And you can even zoom out a little bit so you can kind of get a better look at the character. And so I could like just hit print screen, and if I wanted to share what my character was up to, this would be the way to do that. So very useful add-on. Does a lot of other things too. You just have to play with it. I haven't messed with it a lot yet. There's obviously photo mode. You can show your like the equipment slots. You can see that I've got obviously heritage armor on across the board. You can do like a group photo. You can add some other people in here. You can do it like at an angle. We can go like that. Like there's just some cool stuff with it. Yes, we're going to quit group photo. So it just allows for some really fun, immersive, kind of interactive RP type elements there. Let's go over weak ores because I have a few. Some of them I'm going to be getting rid of course, as the season ends. Of course, I use Afanar's Druid package. I also have his Mage package because I'll probably be playing these two classes come timeline. I do have Lexlos's experience bar, which is only useful come leveling in Dragonflight, but I went ahead and got it now. Efficient stats is what I use to show off all my stuff down here. So if you're wondering what my stats are, like, oh, what's my crit? What's my haste? I've got those questions quite a bit, so I just put them on screen so you don't have to ask the question. You literally look right there, and you're going to find out. Rateability timeline, this is a weak aura right over here that just takes big wigs and puts them on this timeline. I just prefer the look of it. Ultimate mouse cursor is this right here, which is the big circle around my cursor. It'll show things like my health bar, my cast time, stuff like that. Other cool ones that I've got, most of these are just stuff that I'm probably going to delete majority of. This one I'm hoping gets updated as we go soon, but it basically shows how much percentage you need before like you go into like the first boss of Gambit, for example. So I use very few weak auras right now. That's probably going to change as we get into Vault of the Wardens and Season 1 of Mythic Plus. It's where majority of my weak auras come from. I do have Season 4 weak aura path because it shows right here. It shows like when quaking is going to happen approximately. Stuff of that nature. So that's my UI. It's not very full, doesn't have a ton of stuff, uses a lot of the default UI. I really enjoyed the way that it looks, really enjoyed the way that it plays. And overall, like my, system memory is pretty low. I'm only at 280 megabits. I was usually up around 400 or 500 with LVUI and the old setup that I had and all the add-ons that I was using. So it's much lighter on the system. Allows things like my graphics to be pushed up a little bit because add-on memory isn't taking up as much processing power. I know my latency is really bad right now for some reason, probably because I'm on an Oceanic server, but overall, I really enjoy the UI. There'll be a link to the Blizzard UI setup in the description below. So if you want that, just check the description. It'll be there. So until the next video, I hope you're all staying safe. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. You're having fun. And I'll see you all in the next video.